And then, whoops. What? Oh, come on. Oh, dude. This again? Oh, come on. We get this every time. All right, here we go. We're going to go live to Facebook. And we are live on YouTube's. Okie doke. 30 seconds in. Can we just start painting today? I don't know. I sure hope so. Let's do it. Great news across the I feel it's great news actually that I was able to find the right image for for Fred. It was sitting right under my nose here the whole time. So here we go. We're going to paint Fred Rogers. We're going to enjoy some painting. One of the things that I think is so important to remember when you're starting in on a portrait is to keep things broad. And by that I mean try, at least in this example, we're going to make it a point of, I don't know, kind of making sure that we are the most economical we can be. Like, in other words, whatever the portrait, like whatever our brush is, like, you know, if we're, let's say we're painting the nose, you want to make that brush stroke as economical as possible. So in other words, we don't want it to be like, if you can solve it with one brush stroke, solve it. If you can't, get a different brush. But we'll kind of focus on that. Our underdrawing here is super, I don't know what the word is. It's pretty, it's pretty detailed, I would say. So let's get to it. We'll check it out. One other thing that I'm going to do here is, while I've got my Facebook open, and we're going to share this to portrait painters. Hello, neighbor. And I hope you'll be my chat neighbor today. Pop in, say hi. That would be fun. And we can share memories of Fred Rogers, the whole crew. So yeah, here we go. You'll notice that the portrait today is portrait mode. That is because I want us to I want to make sure that we're, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this all out, how we're going to do this. So I'm going full screen mode, and I think next week maybe, or next session, we'll go in more detailed on like Daniel. I'm not sure, but let's get into it. So first thing we do is we squint and we look for our darkest darks, right? It's always good to start with a dark. And even Fred Rogers has a dark side, right? So we get our brush tool, and we got to fix one thing here. We're going to do Kyle's Ultimate Wet Media Brushes. We're going to do Kyle's Paintbox Wet Blender, thick and thin. I don't know anything about this stuff. We're still going to go with the real oils, and we're going to... What? The target layer is hidden, as usual. Okay, here's our target layer, right? We're going to escape, enter full screen mode. Let's get in there. All right. Good news about this image is that it's very tight, very high res. There's a lot of color in here that I probably wouldn't typically want, but we're going to be okay. Let's get our darkest darks. So we'll get a nice red dark here, and we'll try to make our... So that could have been done with one stroke, but you know, we're already breaking our rules that we set out to do. Okay, you'll see what I mean by the one stroke rule. We're going to try. What else are we going to do? So we're just... Dohad 233. Feel free to send me a Discord request at Dohad. I'm not going to do any Discord stuff. I appreciate it. You can totally feel free to hang out anytime, but I'm not going to do any Discord stuff at the moment. So please enjoy the show, and I hope the best. I wish you the best. All right. It's always nice to have a follow, so I'm not going to stop you from hanging out, but I'm not going to share anything on Discord or anything like that. So, all right, here we go. Let's get a little bit more brushwork in here. Let's get a little bit of this brushwork. Basically, we're trying to get down to where we well, you'll see. Just all will be revealed. So we got our reds, our darks. We're finding our dark shapes along the edge of the nose. We're finding these beautiful red shadow edges. Now, if you happen to be painting along with us today, and you want to mix this with oil paint, all you need is black, a little bit of red, and a hint of yellow ochre. So don't let anybody tell you any different. Okay, you don't need any reds. Can I prove that? Yeah, but we're not going to do it this week. All right. Someday we'll get into the studio, right? We've got a dark here. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so we're just filling in our darks. Please feel free to send me a Discord request. A cola. Dohad, thanks for your help, please. Thank you. All right. What else is happening? We're going to continue the Van Dyke Z. Have we talked about the Van Dyke Z? Yes, we've talked about the Van Dyke Z over and over and over. And the reason we talk about it is because it's such a useful thing. The Van Dyke Z is this area under the bridge of the nose that wraps up around the eyebrow. So we're not going to be able to do much we're not going to be able to do much in terms of zooming in on this one, so that's kind of a good thing. I like limiting myself to this maybe 150% zoom. You'll see what I've done here where I've probably gone too farther than I need to, really, with the image, with our paint by numbers drawing. But the underdrawing is important, right? So we can always hit, we can always sort of zoom out later. We know there that there's beautiful stuff going on here. There's like eyelashes that I'm not painting right now. But we're just trying to get this shadow pattern as it curls around the eyes. Okay, here we go. We're going to let this curve through. Let this curve through. I don't know exactly where all this stuff goes, but that's basically the Van Dyke Z right there. We can always mix up. Let's get in here and take a look at Roger's eye here. The sooner we can get, I mean, I always try to take shortcuts here, but what I'm trying to do in these early stages is just map in our darkest darks, okay? So we're mapping them in. We know that's our darkest dark. We're not going to hit our highlight there, although we could. We could consider a lot of this stuff our dark darks. Okay, that's probably fair enough. Look at the lovely shadow pattern as it wraps from here. Find our darkest darks. Let's let this blur. Let the shadow all has to be connected. So it's like the shadow edge is just one big thing. This is like studio photography, so it's not quite the way it is when we're painting in natural light conditions, but the basic premise is the same. Shadows bleed together, and whoops, I don't want to do that. I went nuts there. Okay, we're gonna get our dark, pull it around in here. We're leaving space for those baby blues. We're gonna grab our lash line, upper lash line. Really never ceases to amaze the structures of the eye, and it's really fun to study that stuff if you have time to just. You see a lot of kids these days, and I've done it myself, where you're painting eyeballs and, you know, getting all the eyelashes and all that stuff. But one of the things that's so cool about eyes is that you can break them down into these basic shapes, and you don't have to look so closely into. You can kind of look at how do eyes look when you're looking at somebody from a distance. Do you see every eyelash? Usually not. So here we're carrying on. Now, I'm breaking my cardinal rule because good luck finding a photo of Fred Rogers without eyes open. I'm sorry, without eyes open. Without good luck finding a photo of Fred Rogers with mouth closed. I mean, you can find them. I happened across this one that was so iconic with Daniel Tiger. I couldn't resist it. So this is what we got. And I think it's a great portrait photo, reference photo. Let's keep going here. You'll see that I didn't really mark my shadow edge. That could be a fatal flaw because, as you know, I have trouble mapping out what is shadow and what is light, especially when it's in the shadow side, but we're going to figure it out. So we're going to do the best we can. We're going to get these tiny little brushes in here to get our shadow pattern resolved as it whips across. And whips across here. Okay, so all I'm doing there is just, I don't know. We got to get some brown paint down there, right? Why not figure out how the rest of this shadow edge behaves? Okay. All right, so this shadow edge kind of blurs in together. All right, lots going on. Another shadow edge, another shadow pattern here. This is, you know, the key to chiaroscuro here is these darkest darks. So we're going to find them. There's a darker dark there, but we'll just hit that one for now. Let's find out where the edge of this shape goes. We're going to find our really, I mean, I'm moving quickly here, and part of the reason I'm moving quickly is because my time lapse is at 100% zoom, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to that zoom. So maybe I want to finish Fred's head here today. I know that's probably unlikely, but we're going to try it. I mean, we're not going to do it. It's just a good goal to set to keep us moving, and the 3-hour mark and all that. So we're going to hit we got a nice shadow pattern under the nose. Interesting that that is not the color that I wanted. This is. I'm actually having trouble more and more grabbing colors that I want. Like, why is that picking the wrong color? I don't understand. But it did. All right, we'll find our shadow under the nose. See, the shadow under there is just not going to cut it. Here, where's it? What's the erase tool? What's the erase tool? Erase tool. E. Get rid of that. And we'll pretend that's turpentine, right? We want a little halftone that lives under the nose here. I don't know what the... Come on. All right. Good news is we don't have to worry too much. We just want to keep going with our shadow pattern. this up here. Whoop, what happened? Interesting. Did I miss something? Well, what can we do? We can just fix it, that's it. All right. So, trying to resolve shadow patterns is usually like, if we can get in here and just map in very quickly what our shadow edge does, then it's almost like we can you're building like a scaffolding. The shadow edge shows, already you can see that he's like coming out of the mist, right? Like, there's our darkest dark. Like, we're gonna you'll see what I mean. And one thing that this gets a little philosophical, or maybe sort of hyper technical. It's like, I've noticed that depending on the person's physiognomy, like if you were around when we did Josh Mankiewicz, there was something about the pose and just the features, his anatomy, his idiosyncratic way inspired me. The way he looks inspired me in a different way than probably Bob Ross. Like, Bob Ross has a beard and he doesn't have these like angular features. Rogers has his own characteristic look, and that's all of those things inspire or sort of inform my subconscious, the way I put brush marks down. It's hard to explain unless you're, but with Mankiewicz, there was something so geometric about that pose, like the side smile and the nose wing and just that giant smile mark. Rogers has some of that, but it's softer. It's like, and this gets into the philosophy of like portraiture and psychology. Like, what can you learn from somebody by just looking at their face? Is their spirit kind of written into their face in some ways? All these questions are interesting, and if you look at, I don't know, portraiture throughout the ages, like, you can see how the portrait, I'm rambling, but I think you'll get, if you stick with me, you'll see what I mean a little bit. Like, the brush marks that I'm using for Rogers are very different from the ones that I use for Mankiewicz or Bob Ross. Like, and that's what you want. All right, so here we go. Let's keep going. Look at this giant red shadow edge. Okay, we'll contain it, right? We'll contain it with our darkest dark, and then we'll hit in some of these. All right, that we don't really know where the edge is, but that's okay. You can see, usually what I do is I leave reflected light for the end. You don't have to do that, but one of the reasons we do that, we don't have to put it in right away, is that reflected light changes when you're painting from life, because the way the light is refracting off of and reflecting off of whatever the person's wearing, like the direction of the you know, the quality of the light, if it's overcast, if it's, all these things affect bounce light or reflected light. It's called in oil painting, we call it reflected light. But what we're seeing here, for instance, this is reflected light from his collar and his sweater. You can see it's red under there, but it's still, you know, when you're painting from life, that all could change from session to session. So that's why we kind of keep it, we keep the reflected light out of the equation until we get our shadow pattern really sort of solidified. There's no reason to mix. The minute you start putting, let me step back. The way you paint reflected light necessarily is by employing opaque paints. You see all this shadow edge? That's transparent paint. You're just using black, ochre, and red. This stuff, as it blurs from shadow into light, you have to get this light flesh color, you have to start bringing white, which is an opaque paint, into the mix. And so the longer you can hold back from mixing opaque into transparent, the better, because you can always continue to, it's like watercolor, you can always continue to glaze transparent paint over transparent paint. But the minute you start introducing opaque paints like white, you're going to deaden that beautiful translucent shadow. White paint is opaque. That's just the way it is. And so when you mix across from shadow, as I'm going to do here, you want to be darn sure where you want that shadow edge before you put it in. So here you see I'm doing it. I'm blurring that edge. I'm beginning to feed in some lights, but then I'm going to stop. Like, that's okay. We're painting digitally, so this doesn't really apply here. But you'll see when we do get to painting. I mean, painting from oil with oil is a different animal because you've got to conserve resources and pay attention to the drying time and all that kind of thing. All right. I don't know what this is. I don't know. We can always put this dark here. You know, there's some light paint that comes across here, but I think we're not gonna. We don't have to, like. Let's just try and get the basic shadow shapes in here. We can feed in the lights later. See, we gotta still have a transparent, but it's blue. He's definitely in like a blue background, which I might not choose if I were doing more of a traditional oil portrait, but it's cool, right? I like the blue background. So let's move back into a bit of shadow work along the face here. Nice. Look at this. This is transparent. This is what I mean by these transparent shadow values. These the shadow pigments are, you can see they're clear. Black. If you use black pigment and red pigment, you can see right through. When you start to feed in light, it blocks the light. It reflects it back rather than letting the light through. I mean, it depends on how much it is. Because obviously, like here, the light is, when it's a shadow edge, when it's a highlight, like this, and we'll just get this going now that we can. When it's a shadow edge like this, you say, okay, a highlight, something like that, it blocks the light from going through the canvas. Okay. When it's a shadow, the light is allowed to pass through the pigment, hit the canvas, and come back. But with here we're gonna, with highlights, the light bounces right off. Okay, so let's become better neighbors if we can, and try and give Bob his fair shake as far as getting the shadow edge completed. So if I were, you always want to think about this. Look, this is in shadow. I realize that, but it's got some transparency and some opacity, and that has to do with the white and the, the salt and pepper look. Here we're going to confirm the shadow edge here. Okay, we're going to, yep. Now here, look at this. This is kind of fun. We can grab an edge here and just sort of start to blur in the direction of the hair. Now I know that's iffy. I'm not really paying close enough attention to how that blurring's happening, but it's close enough for our purposes. All right. Yeah, well, we got a shadow edge coming through. We're going to leave our darks luckily we have some guidance here. Our dark lives there, and then the shadow edge comes all the way through. Okay. Continuing, we've got an opportunity here to hit our gray eyes here. They're not gray, they're blue. But we'll get that subtlety going at a later time. This is a shadow for sure. My friend once ran into Fred Rogers at an airport, and he saw him stumble. He was an older man at the time. He saw him, Rogers was. My friend saw him stumble a bit, went over to him. My friend at the time was probably in his late teens, and he offered him a hand. He said, like, "Are you okay?" And he helped him to get back to his feet. And Rogers said, "Thank you, brother." I thought that was just like an epic Rogers moment. He didn't quite say neighbor, but it's like, I think neighbor is obviously neighbor is a euphemism for kind of, probably in Rogers' mind, the children of God, right? He's definitely a religious, he's an ordained minister even. So he's into it. All right, we're going to try and get our... I don't know why I just did that. Here we see, this is what I'm trying to do. Alls I want to do is get our dark darks. Alls I know is that Fred Rogers All right, now we got to go in for it. So I'm sure I told you many times, don't paint people with their mouths open. Well, you think you're going to find a photo of Rogers with his mouth closed? Yes, you can, but they're more editorial style. They're more candids. You know, if he knows if he's under studio lighting, he's probably not going to allow much in the way of dour, kind of, he's not going to put material out there that's not smiley. So, which is great for Rogers. I mean, would it be cool to have like a more darker pose? Yes, but since we've got this high res or large resolution, and we've got studio lighting, etc., we'll stick to it. All right, look at this. Here's a little halftone. It's not quite shadow, it's not quite highlight. So what is it? It's a halftone. Let's call it a halftone. Bring it around. That's where a little bit of what I was talking about with when I had talked previously about the transparency versus opacity. All right, here, let's go here. This is the kind of one that so let's grab a highlight along this edge and see how it bounces against our... That's nice, right? Something like that. We didn't really need to put that in there, but it's one of the main highlights. And so same with this. We're going to find out our edge lives about here. Just, we're just mapping in those highlights. You can let them fade out a little bit. Now, teeth. Gosh, we got teeth. We're not going to get away with it this easy. We got to hit these teeth. So there's a giant highlight right here on the tooth. By the way, I'm not sure that I think Hanks was the best choice for Rogers. I don't know who is, but what do you think? Let me know in the chat if you have a better casting call for Fred Rogers. I don't, but I do think that sometimes when I look at Hanks, I'm like, it's too yucky. It's too Hollywood. But maybe that's just, like, who could he have been? He could have been somebody, even somebody with like a darker, more troubled persona in real life, I think maybe somebody who's been through like a redemption arc in their real life would have been a good choice, because look, who are we kidding? Like, you don't need to have, celebrities don't have to be like clean cut anymore to be Disney and PBS. I don't know. I'm babbling, but see if you tell me what you think. Pardon me. We're going to carefully. So, where are we at? We're going to find, we might even be able to plow through this, not finish the portrait, but I just mean we may be able to get this kind of underway and not take a break today. You know, why take a break? At least what I'd like to do is get it to the point today where it's going to look like Fred. It's got to be like Fred. Okay? I mean, it looks like Fred already, but what I mean is like when a passerby sees the stream, they're just kind of like, all right, now I'm in the right neighborhood, you know? Okay, so find a streak of light that pops down here. There's movement in that nose. That's kind of what I was getting at before about how do you find out what brushstrokes to use. If there's a certain kind of roboticness to Mankiewicz's face, and even his like personality is a little bit, it's not as open in some ways as somebody like Rogers or Bob Ross is. So there's this like inclination to go, at least for me, when I was painting him, it's like there was an inclination to paint with more firm, decisive brushstrokes. Whereas here, the softness in his expression calls for more sensitive brushwork. And this is something that we can continue to talk about, but I don't know why it is, or I'm not like really making, it's not like I'm making an active decision to paint with softer brushstrokes or be less rigid. It's like the personality calls for it. The way his face looks is his personality in some ways. And the way I can translate that it's almost like automatic for me to choose brushwork that fits the rhythms of his physiognomy. So we'll see. Excuse me. So we can talk more about that. I think for right now, again, we're looking for our we're looking to kind of close up the shadow side of the head. In other words, find enough cover enough of that gray. Should use a bigger brush there, you know. Sorry, I got the seasonal. Ooh boy, that's not good. We're gonna have to. I was trying to drag the canvas over, but all right. This really is showing Roger's age here with these kind of ruddy eyelids. Why don't we grab the shadow? Why don't we grab the lid line over here, something that's red. Grab it, pull it across. I went too far, that's okay. Studio lighting, look, they've got a Lowell Omni light with a shade on it, probably, who knows. I'm not really big into photography the way a lot of people are, but I, needless to say, have used it for my portrait art. And I use it in the studio. I'll set up big lights and try to get people. Sorry, in the studio I typically use natural light, but if I'm at somebody's home photographing them, which is sort of a second best idea, I'll use large hot lights to get the same effect as a outdoor, as a natural light shoot. So this is clearly a studio shot, but we can work with it. Here, let's find out. Here again, we're just gonna pull that through. Are there any highlights here on his brow ridge here? Yes, there are. So we'll find them, look, flick back and forth, flick your eye back and forth and find out where they live. That was too low. We'll keep it a little higher. Squint all the way down. We'll try and get this nice, really interesting eyebrows here because we're dealing with darkest darks, lightest lights, and they're changing all the time. Pop in this light. And we can always go back and feed in the details later. What was that? What did I just do? Forget it. Here is another example where we want to find a shadow edge and blur it back into the light. See that? Really find out where this light dark edge wraps through. Find out where this dark edge. Now you may be saying, what about Daniel? Well, we'll get to Daniel. But you kind of want to make a full statement in a certain place and then move on from there. And when I say full statement, that means kind of, I know what I did. I know what I did. I don't know what I did exactly, but I know I did something wrong. Here, let's grab this. I think this is going to be our shadow edge. Look at the photo. The photo has a scratch across it. I'm not complaining, but we just want to be mindful of it. So why don't we just start in with our sweater? Ooh, gosh. Fred, could you have picked a more earthy color palette today? No. when my son was very young, we would watch Mr. Rogers all the time. OG Mr. Rogers. And when he'd come in, I influenced him to get a little fired up when he would go into the closet and be like, dude, what color is it? Like, what colored sweater is it today? What's it gonna be? And, he'd be like, but after a while, my kid would watch the same episodes a bunch. He loved to watch like more and more of the same episodes. It's sort of like, kids are, they like to repeat stuff over and over. So he would get to the point where he would know which sweater color it was, and I had forgotten, but for him it was like that was the game. So now whenever we watch it, we still watch it because he's not quite. I watched the show when I was like 11. Is that weird? I mean, I can't. It's so nice. It's like very meditative. Needless to say, there's no like jump cuts going this way and that. But anyway, I just think it's funny when he opens up that closet to be like, oh, dude, which color is it? Purple. And you start to see the same sweaters over and over, across different episodes. Some of our favorite episodes was one where he goes and visits Eric Carle, creator of the Very Hungry Caterpillar series. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but there's another good one that we loved where Rogers welcomed this guy, Bob Specca, who's like the world's preeminent domino stacker. He was very funny. Sort of a quiet soul. He even was like more gentle than Rogers, which was kind of interesting to see. Rogers like gets kind of he gets almost, for Rogers, he gets a little like riled up. Like the guy sets up all these dominoes, and at the end of it, Rogers is like, I'd like to hit this gong. They're in Joe Negri's music shop, and he wants to hit a gong that's in the same room after the dominoes have all been released. He's like so psyched. He smashes the gong, and the guy. Anyway, that's one to watch. So let's talk about paint by numbers versus painting for a bit here. I've got my background, I've clearly got my underdrawing, but that's not going to stop me from painting in the same directions as the forms. Whereas in paint by numbers, the forms, the direction of the circles that they draw are already decided for you. They're usually just like, they're not expressive shapes. Whereas when we're painting, when we're trying to make a painting appear kind of like expressive and hang on, you want to go for the shapes. So like look at, that's the direction of that forehead in my mind, so it's like we're just going to put a little bit of that highlight there on the forehead. Fallen surfer disrupts train. Uh-oh. We got a surfer fell in the train tracks. I think he's okay. Just a disruption. I hope he's okay. So anyway, now we're starting to get our dark darks in the light part of the head. See this? So like here, it's the light is hitting this side of Fred's head, obviously, and the side on the left is the shadow. But there are still shadows within the right side of the head. So like, for example, this is a half tone. It's not particularly a shadow edge, but it is a darker dark. And then let's grab our, whoops. Just flick that across there. All right, now, where are we? How are we doing with, how are we doing on time? I'm not going to go anywhere anytime soon, but I really want to. I think that comes across a bit more over here. I didn't quite get that, but now we've got it. See, there's that. So that's fine. And then we're going to use our light brush to get in some of that. And then we're going to take another shadow edge. See this, how this curls across? We're just finding now the colors that we're going to need for the forehead. See, that's a nice deep, transparent shadow color. Okay. Wild. Let's get some of this. Whoops. No, come on. All right, when I put in an edge like that, I'm looking for how it compares with my reference photo. So, I'm looking for, look, there's clearly a lighter light that lives right in here, to use the parlance of Bob Ross. We're not done with Bob Ross, even though we are done with that painting for now. I put the time lapse up, so check it out. That's the most recent one. If you're interested in seeing how that went, it's up on the Instagram and the YouTubes. Let's grab this. And so every number, so to speak, that we're filling in or painting in by numbers is, here, look at this. That's a good one. Tap, tap, tap. I think this one's going to live right here. Good. There, we get the twinkle in the eye. Come on now, Rogers. Give it your best. Who was it that was asking about teeth the other day? Was it Ariandel Art? I forget. But this is going to, basically, it's not harder to paint teeth. Like, you still need to find your darkest darks. Okay? You still need to carve them in. Something like that. We're using tiny brushes to get our darks there. And here's our shadow edge along the lip. Okay. Would Rogers have wanted a teeth whitening if he could have had it? I don't think so. He's not that kind of guy. I mean, I know a lot about Rogers because I read one of his, a book. It wasn't a memoir, but it was it a memoir? I read it last year. I don't think it was. No, it was just a biography, and it was read by LeVar Burton, who's another public television icon. We're going to find some reference pics of that dude and get him going on here too. So anyway, oh, I think we're going to have some construction today. That'll be fun. Certainly hope so. But it's a great book, and I highly recommend it. It is read by LeVar Burton. Really kind of a good pairing there. Okay. Now, how are we doing with our... I kind of like the background. Kind of cool. All right. Now, can we get that head... Whoops. Big mistake. Not so big. Don't worry. Can we get this edge... Really thinking about this edge as far as it's being, oh my God, what is this? Sometimes I'm like pressing the wrong key in an attempt to use a keyboard shortcut. I'm like hitting the wrong one over and over again. And if you're not careful, you'll be hitting like the darken tool. And the whole thing will just get dark. So, cool. We start to see that gentle expression coming out. All right, we're going to hit some highlights now. If we haven't already, we're going to hit some more. Highlight in the teeth. I think we mentioned to Arian Del Art that the highlights of the teeth are important because they... did I do it? Yeah. Okay, forget it. The highlights of the teeth are what tell us what the texture is. You know, it's like if you look at if you're painting a metal teapot, the highlights indicate that it's made of metal, and the highlights indicate that the teeth are reflecting light in the way that, a smooth metal surfaces. You can see how the light bounces off the teeth, and oh boy, we're in for a big one today. I wonder if it's the mailbox. Certainly hope not. Can you hear that? Dun, 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 dun. All right, here's another situation up here where we got darks that zip across here, and then maybe there are like darker darks that go back in the other direction. I don't know why I had to make that, like it was probably this. I was probably trying to make sure that I knew that this carves in here, but in the end of the day, you're on your own. You got to you can't rely on your underdrawing. You got to use your eye. But there it is. Dude, is it just me or these? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the darks, but there's a slash of dark right here. There we go. That's kind of that hair edge is really kind of fun to paint. Nope. So, all right, I went a little too far with that. Should we also do a game show host series? Dick Dawson. We'll get Alex Trebek. Just some food for thought. All right, I don't want to start going in with too much light value there. We're not quite done with the shadow edge. I'm hiding in the shadows, literally. Well, more like figuratively. All right, let's find a shadow edge. Okay. Let's see where we're headed next. We're always looking for single brush strokes, if it's possible, to get single brush strokes which define an entire area. Here I go with my allergies. I'm going to have to take a break again. Well, anyway, we're looking for brush strokes which, in a way, seek to, kind of tell us the whole picture with one brush stroke, if that makes any sense. So we'll keep going to that end. Okay. Here's a nice, almost a cool shadow that wraps across here. Let's see if we can employ that. All right. Definitely here we have our shadow edge. Have a shadow edge here. We wanted a darker dark than we got, like that. That's probably what we were aiming for, but now the light's down there and we're gonna run into problems. Find a brush stroke that kind of says a lot more than you'd think it would. Highlight, look at those eyes. I mean, they really are gray. When I paint blue eyes, I typically just use black and white. Not everybody would say good choice there, sir, but I like to keep the colors as simple as I can. That way you don't have to mix a bunch of things. And all right, let's see what we got in here for the eyes. What do you think? Is this going to be another example where the tone is, the color slightly shifts, but the tone is the same? All right, we'll pull in those darks. And we're going to sink the eye on the right down. So look at these nice bright reds. The whites of the eyes are not what we think they are. The whites of the eyes are not white at all. They're a dark gray. At least on this side. All right, and then we can go back and check it out. We'll blur edges together if needed. All right, what's happening with that eyebrow on the right? We're certainly needing to get in here with a with a light. Here's a halftone, fleshy value halftone. And watch how it curls up. All right. We're going to get this to blend, come across. Do you see what I mean? How do we do this? Well, another way is to get, let's just get a simple eyebrow value like this. Whoop, it's a dark. It's a dark. All right, let's see what we got. I went too far, folks. How do we pull it around? Something like this. Same color. That's the one we had before. I don't know why my encoder alert is going off right now. They're like working on the eyebrows again. Bandwidth, not enough bandwidth. Okay, let's get, I know there's a darker dark in there. Come on, there it is. We'll find some highlights. All right, let's zoom out and see what we're doing with the portrait itself. We need to keep going. We're going too piecemeal here, I think. We almost need to be a bit more disciplined so we can move ahead. shadow edge here. We'll find it. We didn't put it in before, but here it is now. And we know that this shadow edge lives about here. I'm not liking this. I don't think this is the right background for this one. I might have to adjust that, but I think in this case we needed a different color background, but that's all right. It's just not feeling like the right background color value. What time do we have here? Ooh, it's way past my coffee time. It took me a while to set up today because I was so excited when I found this portrait of Rogers that I was like, dude, we got to get this thing live at 9 a.m. But there was no way to do it. I had too much to set up. And I'm glad I took my time because now we're good. And we're gonna carry on. We must carry on. One. What's that? Oh boy. What's this? Something like that. Shadows. Shadows and lights. Well, I don't know what that is, but I think it's probably got something to do with this. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit it in. Keep going. Something like that. Who knows how far across that should go. But look, that's looking good, right? I don't know. Let's pop in a little dark area here that we see for the collar. And another bit of the architecture of the sweater. And find a dark that kind of lives along this edge. Pretty close, I would say, right? We can leave a little hint of the reflected light there, just so we know what's what. We're gonna grab a value for the shadow as the shirt and the sweater wrap around. I'm gonna find a value for the dark of the collar. A nice red color. Violet. Violet, you're turning violet. Oh, that's the other one we ought to do. Well, we'll do that next. We'll do we'll round out our PBS team pictures. And then, so the big thing is who's next on PBS. I'm a little stuck there. I think it's going to be LeVar if we can do it. It's going to be hard, but we can do it. Okay. Now, let's get ourselves in order here. We'll start to iron out the anatomy here on the eye. I'm sorry, guys. Clearly, we're not painting the eye yet. Let's find this dark value. See, it's reading like a light. I think we actually wanted a lighter canvas here. Maybe we'll do that for the next one. I don't know. We can always change the thumbnails up and do all that stuff. So, okay. Find our shadow edge. Find our shadow edge there. All right. All right. Sorry, I got my head in two places at once. So here we go. Let's get back to it. never particularly fun to paint teeth, despite what the pundits say. No, it really doesn't matter. I have a lot of practice painting mouths when they are closed. And I don't have a lot of practice painting teeth. And it's not as though, once you know how to paint or draw, as I've always said, the sooner you know how to draw, the sooner you'll really be able to paint anything that comes into your field of vision. But it is true that the more you paint one thing, that certain rules apply. Repeatedly, you'll see the same things pop up. It's a good time. It's a good time to weird. There's that Rogers lip we're looking for. Let's find what value breaks the teeth. It's got to be something like this. Uh-oh, I hope we're not getting another... Oh no! I lost something important. It's okay. Whoa. We gotta paint these teeth. Come on, we gotta paint them. Nobody else is gonna do it. Unless you're painting along at home, of course, which I strongly encourage and welcome. Tell me how your art... Tell me about your art life. What projects are keeping you busy these days? Oops, didn't need to do that. All right, let's grab... This is going to be a highlight. Like, look, it's going to breathe like a highlight here. There's a nice basic value. All right. We got places to go with this painting. Let's go there, huh? Whoa, do we need to do that? Yes, we did. Let's keep going. And we'll go like that. See that? Sometimes you gotta just be ruthless. Whoa. So this is the thing about digital brushes, is sometimes they don't go exactly the way you think they're gonna go. But whoa, Rogers, he's coming at you. All right, Fred, the legend. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine? Maybe what we'll do is we'll do a cover of my favorite song of his is "It's You I Like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. It's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you. Not your clothes. No, not your toys. They're just beside you. Or it's you. Anyway, we'll do more on that at another time. I've learned how to play it in C major. Not on the piano, strangely, but on the guitar. So maybe we'll bring it out. And there's just so many different portrait projects I want to do. And they all can have a fun way of being presented in the time-lapse format. It's not the way you do your hair. That's going to be in my head for the rest of my natural life. Let's find out what goes on here. Let's find out where this lives. Happy little trees. Let's paint some happy little trees. You guys got to check out Melody Sheep. Very amusing. Oh, shoot. I did it. I really did it that time. Yeah, Melody Sheep makes these really great, almost electronic music remixes of these legends. So like the Mr. Rogers one is called The Garden of Your Mind. Which is, it's a banger. And like McFeely, Mr. McFeely has a whistle solo in it. Oh my, really brings down the house. There's just something about like the way that features on his face kind of like feather around that requires, in my mind, it compels me to use feathery brushstrokes. I'm not using like mechanical brushstrokes the way I might on, I don't know. We'll keep, let's bookmark this concept that like the brushstrokes are determined by who you're painting, and we'll revisit it. Whoa, that was way too ferocious. I don't want to erase it though. Not awful. Still coming into play here. What I just... Come on, Fred. Did we have to have... There's something about his mouth. The smile. Like from the bottom down, you can really see... Tom Hanks more. Whoa, we need this dark red here. Where does it live? Okay. We're not going to take a break yet. I'm not ready. Okay. So, see this? Watch how transparent paint or shadows can be blurred and blended into lights. You gotta feel for it. You gotta kind of feel for where those edges change from light to dark. Did I go too far there? Maybe. Let's put in our nose wing. Gonna grab our nose wing colors. Actually, there's a highlight right in here. Right before you get to that edge, there's a highlight. So check it out. See it? Boom, highlight. Let's grab it. Yeah, God. See, painting light into dark on digital media is not the way it is in real life. But they do a good job of going the other direction, I've found. But that's why we're going to really muster up the strength to get it right the second time. Okay, so here we had this sort of, there we go. Let's grab that, bring that through. There's another highlight that lives there. I see you. Where are you? Okay. Rogers. All right, now Rogers, come on. Let's bring it home here. Got a nice little blur that we can do there. We've got the neckline that we haven't addressed down here. And the whoops, don't want to do that. Let's take a look. Grab our sweater color. Grab our darker sweater color. So here's what I was a little worried about. Like, yes, there's a dark sweater color that comes across here. But hang on a second. Why am I painting on the... What is going on here? Oh, I see. Here. There we go. We like that dark edge of the sweater, but what the heck? Wait. All right. In other words, see how there's like a there's more of a purple edge as it comes along close to the where the sweater ends. So let us find some lights here. Okay, we'll go back to the basics, put in some highlights for the ears. We're gonna find our 5 o'clock shadow along the edge. We can close that gap because the values are so close. We're going to also take our highlight color. See how there's a highlight here that sort of wraps from the edge down into the middle, something like that, and then comes back down, opens up. There's all that Oh, dude. What happened there? I didn't mean to do that. That's going to really freak people out. It certainly freaked me out. Invert. Okay. I hope I didn't move the canvas, but no, that must have been what it was. All right. So, yikes. I grabbed the wrong. And we're finally going to get to our edge here. And at that point, you really see about color. This is where my whole color doesn't matter theory goes out the window. Clearly what they're trying to do with this photograph is give us like a, I don't know, just a, the blue sky vibe. Where are we at? All right, an hour and 48. Let's keep it going. No breaks today, right? It's a no break Monday. Let's just keep crushing it. Just thinking through things that are not relevant right at the moment, but you know how that goes. That's what's so great about painting is you have a task in front of you, and if you're thinking about something else, it's like at this point I'm like hearing somebody dropping something on the floor upstairs, and then you start thinking about who is that? Why are they doing that? And I'm realizing I'm not paying one bit of attention to what I'm doing. So, but here we are. We're back. We're back in the saddle for now. Chip, chip, chip. I knew that. So, all right. Do we see the head coming into focus? Pretty good, right? I mean, I like the painterly style. Oh my God. I should make. Oh God. I like the painterly look. That. pop in these nice values for the again, the darks are unnecessary. I mean, the dark background wasn't the right call on this one. I don't know if I would have done a light background, but here, let's forget about what, I'm not going to change it in midstream because now we've decided, and we can find our values as they present themselves, something like that. That. Squint. Find our values here. Whoa, whoa. Oh boy. Oh boy. Not sure what I'm going for here, but it's something. Oh man, that wasn't what I wanted to do. It's okay. Pull it across here. That's all right. We'll fix it. Take this little, pull that across. Then we'll take this area and pull it across. All right, now there's a slash of gray here. Touch of gray, right? Feeding that gray in. It must be getting early. So what did I do here? Why did I do it? That's always the question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Let's find our shadow edge. As we're going to be coming through this way. I don't know why that did that. Find a dark. Find a shadow edge here. Pull it in through. There's that silver. He's you gotta find that. Pulling it too far. All right, how are we looking? Take a look, a looky look. And let's find out. Accident. It's just a bit of a it's a happy accident. Okay. Find this. Here's where we can start really finding our, oh boy. You can see that I've just completely abandoned my, if we screw up, I was trying not to do rewinding, but come on, rewind. Let's just rewind. It's more fun. We're gonna grab this across, pull it through. We're going to find our peach values. We're going to find our highlights as they curl up and around. Now, fun fact, Fred Rogers swam every day of his life. I don't think he ever in his adult life missed a day of swimming. And that was like wherever he was. And he did die young. He died at something like 57. No, what was it? No, come on. Hey Siri, how old was Fred Rogers when he died?
Fred Rogers died February 27th, 2003 at age 74 in Pittsburgh.
Okay, 74. Sorry, I knew I was off. That's somebody else. But he died, that's pretty young. That's like young for a guy who swam every day. Let's put it that way. But he had stomach cancer. He died of stomach cancer. He also had a kind of, he was like a strict vegetarian. I think maybe vegan, but don't quote me. I know he was vegetarian. So sometimes when he'd be traveling, he wouldn't have a lot of options to eat, especially in the 80s. I don't know how many vegetarians. He was ahead of his time. I mean, he was ahead of his time in more ways than one, right? He really, oh gosh. Junk. Let me take a quick break here. Okay, break. We're going to do be right back. No, we're not. So, back to where we left off, if we can. So anyway, he also, there were some really interesting anecdotes in the Rogers biography. Like, he was like an expert at dealing with his own children when they were like kids, like young children, but like he didn't really know how to deal when they started like literally growing pot in the basement, stuff like that. That happened, and his wife really was a little more like in touch with how to handle those sort of those situations, I think. I mean, in his defense, it's got to be tough. Like, you're Mr. Rogers and your kid's growing dope in the basement. Not quite the kind of neighborly so, gosh, am I hungry? Yes. Is it break time? Never. So, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hit these darks on the ear side, and we're gonna just start trying to contain the darks. Nope. Yep. You gotta go backwards sometimes to go forward. Ugh, carving away too much. Stop. Pardon me, folks. This is what happens when I don't take a break. I get a little hungry. But I'm not taking a break because I want to use the full 3 hours and see where we get. Okie doke. I don't know what this is, but something like that. Fred also did a show for grown-ups, like a talk show, and it just didn't land. I think it's unfortunate because, you know, he's so good at talking to people. I feel like he could have had a better chance with that one. They could have, who knows, but I think they should have given it another shot at it. But he did do like a couple, maybe a pilot episode or a few episodes, maybe even a season. But it was kind of an interview program, as I understood it. He invited politicians on, and I think he didn't quite have the same. Well, you'll have to Google it. You know, he's so curious, and it might have just taken It was just too much for the audience, for the adult audience. All right, so here we're gonna grab our lights and shimp across here. All right, let's not lose it. Use it or lose it, as they say. And dude, Norse Warg, they're in. What's going on? Thank you. Norse Warg says, wow, great detail work. Thank you. I'm trying to keep things broad and just hitting it. But thank you very much. We are trying to keep things loose. What's going on? What's new? Thanks for stopping in. Welcome. Just trying to put in some more broad brush strokes. Take our We also published the Bob Ross time lapse over the weekend. I did a pretty crummy last session, but I just used it to, I don't know, just wanted to take one last shot at tightening it up, and I just wanted to be done with it. This one's going to be quicker. Daniel Tiger, actually, the tiger puppet, is going to give me a real pain in the neck, I can tell. He just looks like the kind of trouble to paint. Long day, so nice to have some time to relax at the moment. Oh, that's great. Very good. Back to the Monday routine. So here's what I'm going for at the moment. I believe I have a half tone here. So we're going to put in our little highlights here. Chat says, Norse says, are you familiar to work with layers, or do you prefer using digital medium more traditionally? Great question. Traditionally, I would be using layers. In fact, I don't understand with digital how to layer. Like, what I would love to do is be able to thin the paint down and put, like, maybe I need to do like watercolor at first or so. How do you get like turpentine effect, a realistic turpentine? I would love to know how to do that, because that's kind of how I paint in real life, not digitally. So that's a big question mark for me, and it pops up all the time. Like, how come this isn't quite acting like the way I would normally paint. So, as far as layers, no, I really don't I do have a layer for my like charcoal underdrawing. But yeah, like I'm just painting on one layer. But can you describe, are you talking about literal Photoshop layers? Like, if you can, point to some instruction on how to do that. I'd love to learn more about it. But like I say, I'm not really a digital painter. This is quite new to me, where I'm like doing a daily digital painting practice. But with traditional oil paint, I will start with, typically I will use a medium, and I can go into details about what that is if you're interested, but I'll use a medium that will thin the paint, particularly in the shadows, down. So I paint very thinly in the shadows and thickly in the lights. And so, yeah, it's somewhat similar to how I end up having to paint in digital. But anyway, that's a big question. It's a lot to discuss. So definitely curious what your thoughts are. What's your thinking on it? Norsewerg says, I'm still not used to layering digitally yet, but it sounds and looks often as a very useful tool for digital artists. Okay. You know what? Over the weekend, I actually did a digital watercolor. And I very quickly remembered that I've only painted 2 or 3 watercolor paintings in my life, and I'm not skilled or experienced at it whatsoever. But what I did learn is that layers helped me, because watercolor dries so fast, but digital watercolor kind of, this may be what you're getting at. Instead of making it all one, like digital paint never dries unless you make a new layer for it. So that may be what you're pointing towards, or what I'm now realizing, like, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, a new layer means pretend it's drying, right? So that could be interesting to do something like that with oil. But I like I like alla prima. At least I've never done it in my oil painting practice, because I'm not really a good drafts person. Like, my drawing isn't very good. So I end up never being able to get the shapes right in the first pass. And so I'm always coming back later and correcting shapes. So anyway, lots to discuss, but all right. There was here, let's put this. Speaking of layers, I think there's layers of shadow going on back here that I'm not quite hitting properly. Okay. Let's find out what we're doing. Getting distracted. so all right, so see our brush strokes as we're moving up along the forehead here. I like to paint, whether I'm using a medium or painting alla prima, you kind of want to paint in the direction of the forms. And you'll see I'm doing that in different ways. It's kind of a sculptural approach. I think. And now, do I know what I'm doing here? Not really. But I'm going to try to turn this shadow edge better. So let's see. This is about the value. We're going to layer in this. We'll lay in that tone, that value, and then let it curl. So we're curling it around as we go. Okay, we now can get our fully opaque white value in here. Now, here we go. We've got a dark color here. Yeah. I wonder if you mean by layering digitally, are you talking about using actual new layers? Or are you talking about a medium? A medium like a different kind of digital paint that allows you to layer in somehow? Or are you just talking about, whoops. Yeah, I'll fix that later, right? I say that and then I never do. I don't remember. So anyway, I think it's probably all the same idea, is just locking something in and then putting something else there. For me, the reason I'm painting this way, which is like only one Photoshop layer, and I'm using like the simplest oil brushes that I can find on Photoshop, like I'm doing it because I want to, I guess I want it to inform my traditional media thing. But I don't, but the more I do this, I'm like, there's so much more that you can do with digital paint that I'm not doing. And I think that would be pretty cool to explore. So, in some ways, I would love to say, like, look, are you a digital painter who's like really experienced with all the brushes and all that? Like, come on to the chat and let's talk about how best to use the tools. Like, I don't know. I'd love to do that. I'd love to like take a class from a digital painter and do like a duet where their screen is, their painting's up and my painting's up, and we kind of like get through it together. All right, so trying to keep it. I was referring to layering digitally and the different layer types, like multiply, overlay, and so on. Got it. Okay. I do that a lot with my like photo editing. So I have but my knowledge of it is relatively rudimentary. Like I know what I know how to play around with the layers and the layer palette, I guess it's called. But as far as like, and that's really manipulating like photos, and that's a different thing from, in my mind, from drawing or painting. But I wonder how using those things in conjunction with like the brush tools, what's that like? So that's an interesting point. Like, hey, like, make things like, I don't know, take a photograph and digitally like push the values to their limits in ways that you might not be able to do with a paintbrush, stuff like that. So I'm curious about it, definitely, and would love to learn more. But I'm not really like, my knowledge of layers comes mostly from attempting to like if I take a photo myself and I want a certain area of it to be darker and a certain area to be lighter, I'll do like a curves layer and then remove, and then mask that layer out in certain areas, so some of it has more contrast and the other has and usually I have never really pushed digital photography to the level that a lot of people do. I tend to try to keep it like, when I take a photo, I tend to keep it pretty traditional in terms of like, I want it to look like it came right out of the camera or something, I don't know. I don't want it to look digital, but I also have some of those paintings coming up I have some of those photos in mind for ultimately doing some paintings of those photos. So anyway, that could be an interesting fusion where instead of actually using photos that I myself took to paint, that would be cool. All right, who are we here? Okay, here we got this. I forgot to do this and this and this. Let's blur the edge across, all the way across. Boom. Rogers coming into focus. Sorry, getting distracted. We don't have a lot of time on our hands. I assume this is a well-known person. Yes, this is Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is a children's television program from the 1980s. Was on the same network as Bob Ross, and he innovated like children's television and probably kept it, he a lot of the stuff they do with kids TV now is based off of what he did, but he wasn't doing like as you can probably tell from his expression. He was very, things were what kids today would consider boring. Not all kids, but, like kids are used to seeing things like jump cuts where it goes from one, scene to the next. And he only had one camera angle, and he didn't care if it looked, if it didn't look slick. He was all about kind of making a connection with the viewer and almost like lulling them into like, he was gosh, I wish I had posted some more information about him, because there's so much to really say. But yeah, famous person, famous in the U.S. certainly, and I think I forget what I forget from reading his biography, like what he attempted to do in terms of overseas stuff, but I think he might have done some. But it sort of hadn't occurred to me, like, I guess it makes sense, like Bob Ross is kind of a sensation, world-renowned painter of happy trees, whereas Rogers might be less well-known globally. But I guess that hadn't occurred to me, but it's interesting to note that no, not everybody grew up watching Fred Rogers. Oh, I'm sorry, a subway surfer. Huh. Okay, call back to earlier when I said a surfer fell onto the subway. I didn't realize that they were now, the subway surfers were just referred to as surfers now in the media. But okay, so there was a subway surfer, fell off the train. Hope he's okay. Hope they're okay. Kids, don't surf on the subways. I had a friend who had a magazine, like an indie magazine, that he published with like poems and photographs of people subway surfing, but it wasn't how you would think of it like we think of subway surfing today, with people like holding on to the train while it drives around. This guy was more into like, the photos would just be people standing in the middle of the subway car with their hands out in like a hang 10 position. Or whatever hang 10 means. I don't know what it means, but it was just amusing. It was kind of a psychedelic, almost surrealist magazine, because obviously, they're not surfing, but it is interesting to think about it when you're riding on a train, that you can be like, wow, I'm surfing. Look, no hands. Okay. Zooming out. Let's grab some of this. Grab some of this color. And then tomorrow I think we'll rock out with Daniel Tiger. The trademark puppet pal. There's a bit of I'm having some trouble fully understanding, like, because I put in my background, I put in my drawing, I put in my charcoal layer, and then I often lose like where it was, and that's probably a good thing because I don't want to be too reliant on my underdrawing. I want to just be reliant on my eye to know where things are. But sometimes I'm like, ooh, gosh, I wish I had more knowledge of where that shape ends and where it begins. Like right in here, there's a lot of kind of hair nonsense going on that would be nice to have some reference points, but I don't know. I just threw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. Find this. Definitely not exactly what I had in mind. I think my little dude that lives upstairs is rocking in a rocky crib. And when he wakes up from a nap, he starts rocking. And you can hear the gunk, 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 gunk. I saw some pretty funny memes the other day, a video of twins in cribs. And one of them starts rocking back and forth to like use the physics to get the crib to get over to the other sibling's side of the room. And once he gets close enough, he even pulls the thing closer, and then whacks the kid. So, and he's like only, not even maybe 2 yet, it looks like. So your question was, do I stream on other platforms? I want to stream on as many as I can. I stream on Facebook and YouTube right now, and I want to stream on like TikTok, but there's a lot of questions about streaming that I have as well. So yeah. For now, it's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And then all the time lapses. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the time lapse stuff, but I urge you, or I invite you to go to my Instagram link and see the time lapse, because it's done and up, and at least for Bob Ross and some of the others. And so that was like a big weekend activity. I spent most of yesterday afternoon or 2 days, I forget when it was, but it's been up for a while. Whoops. All right, this is where it gets muddy and mushy. Now, wait a minute. Am I not? Oh, no, yeah. I'm in, right? Am I not streaming across? What the heck's going on? No, I'm in. I was looking at the wrong thing. I think I'm like viewing my stream right now. Anyway, here we go. Let's put in this halftone. Just carve that in here. And we can hit the darker later. But let's figure out where this eye ends and where it begins. And like find this path as it wraps up and over. You know, I'm at this point I'm just sort of like trying to take no prisoners and get this stuff done. So, uh-oh. And we're gonna keep wrapping. See this, how this, that eye, upper lid line, and wrap this up and around. Well, we got some things to figure out. First of which is, look at the nice highlight on the brow here. We'll hit that like this. Again, painting light. This is where I could use layers, actually. Well, sorry, more in the traditional sense, but I really could go back in here, and if I want to do impastos, just do an impasto layer. I didn't even think of that. Impastos being, if you're watching and curious, the impasto is when you have a opaque paint that is okay, wait, what's that? When the opaque paint kind of floats over the everything else. So like if you like a good example would be like a highlight on the tip of the nose. You want it to really blast out and look like it's the whitest thing on the painting. You take a big scoop of dry white pigment, and then you just feed it over the layers beneath, and then you can glaze it down. But anyway, I don't know. That's given me some interesting food for thought as far as how can I use layers in a more traditional way, almost to pretend like the paint is drying and then layer stuff over it. So anyway, that more to come on that. Okay, here we go. What's this? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. There's a dark value. Let that curl around. Find these darks, 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 darks. And then you'll see what happened here where I need to pull this even darker across. See where I went too light. I went almost too bright here. But we'll see. Getting there. Now, once again, look at this rich shadow pattern, or not shadow pattern. It's like the dark bleeds up and in. Okay, and you know, we could see where the boundary of that is, but I'm flicking my eye back and forth. I'm not just plunking it down wherever I think it goes. I'm making a visual. I'm referencing the photograph by looking quickly, as quickly as I can. I'm flicking my eye back and forth. And I'm saying, where is that? Obviously that's where that edge goes, but as I'm starting to try and make shadow melt into light and vice versa, we can use we have to flick our eye back and forth rapidly so that we can see the difference. And almost as we're painting, we're dragging across. As we're dragging tone around, we're trying to keep our eye on the reference photo for, in this example. More on that maybe as we go. There, I just lost it. I was just sort of like, well, I don't know what that is, but I wasn't really I wasn't doing my due diligence. So here, we'll find a highlight value, and we'll paint it in. Bring that across. Okay, see where we're at. I like this, the resolution of this painting, of this photo, and the painting by extension. I'm zoomed in just enough so that I can see, and it looks pretty decent. It looks halfway decent on the display, I think. One thing I don't have going is the top of the painting for some reason. Oh, I know why. Here, let's fix that. If we can. Huh. Here. Recapture? I don't know. Okay. Something like that. I don't know. That way you'll see a little more of what I'm doing, I guess. Okay. Where are we at? We're coming up on the 3-hour mark. Oh boy. Here's a good example of a place where the darks and the lights need to blur and work in concert with each other, but it's kind of fun to leave them edgy in that way. So, like this. Whoa, way too dark. Okay, it's way too dark. So that you blur that out. I'm kind of like just blurring. All right, here's where I need an impasto. So it's almost like letting the thing dry, let the paint dry, and then drag with like a bristle brush impastos over the top. So you can see in the photo anyway, like almost like the texture should be different. I think I went too dark with that. I like the little like gray coming through the backgrounds there. I don't know about you, but I think what I'm going to do today, since we have about 12 minutes left, I'm going to just blast through here. Hopefully. Get a dark that goes and resonates as, see that kind of edginess that happens there. You can almost see what I'm trying to evaluate, the shifts in value. I have a reflection on my display, which I don't like, but I kind of crane my neck around so that I don't have the reflection blocking what I'm seeing. It's very different from painting from a distance. In fact, it's a weird thing. You kind of have to pretend you're looking at something. It's like when you're playing in a video. It's like painting in a video game. You know, when you're in a video game, you're like, you have to, your eye is trying to imagine that you're looking at real space, but it's just flat. And I think that's maybe not good for your eyes, but we'll see. Pun intended. But yeah, I certainly, the more I do this, the more I'm like, gosh, I should get it back into this studio, get the cameras over there, get a couple of iPhones set up, and just start painting one of these. I mean, so far, the most popular of the time lapses was by far Bob Ross. Funnily enough, not on YouTube. I don't know why. I wonder if, I'd love to know why that is, but on TikTok, the Bob Ross, it doesn't matter. The reason it matters to me which one's more popular is I want to do like a oil painting, and I want it to be like one of the works that people are most excited about, so that I get kind of the most, you know, you get the most bang for your buck in that sense. So yeah, I don't know. You tell me, TikTok. Like Bob Ross also, Twitch. Bob Ross also was popular on, like one of my streams early on in the Bob Ross painting had 100 views, which is the most I think any stream that I've had has gotten. So that was, I certainly patted myself on the back and thought, hey, you know, thanks, Bob. All right. Well, I know you should never paint. I think we're also going to eventually get much more edgy. I mean, my friend and I were saying the other day, like, I was telling him about this channel, and actually I was telling him about our conversation, and he was saying, well, I bet the Venn diagram between like heavy metal guitar players and Bob Ross is small. It's like who's interested in Bob Ross and who's interested in, I don't know, painting some like sort of someone else who I'm interested in, like a heavy metal guitarist, something like that. And he was saying, I bet that Venn diagram is small. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, but I don't think so, because I think, I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to find out. But I'm going to invite people that comment on who we should paint next, if they're interested. Okay, so, all right, this is silly business. I shouldn't be painting like that, but I am. We definitely want to get rid of this because it's reading as too dark right now. How's that? No, that wasn't right, but that's okay. We'll let it lie for now. Get a highlight here. Nope, that's not a highlight. That's a highlight. Let's get this out of our way and then grab some darker values that live under there. And another reason that I'm doing this is I want to build up more of a illustration portfolio. I think that would be fun because I have a lot of oil paint portfolios, but I would sort of consider this more like illustration. I don't know. Obviously, it's not oil paint. And there's a lot that I have to learn about. I was a photo editor at one point, very early on after art school. I decided to get into that deep dive right into the commercial art world. And it was really fun, and I got to do other things working at a magazine that opened me up to ideas like maybe I want to learn how to design websites, and so things like that. But I think, anyway, I'm rambling again, but having an illustration portfolio Can't hurt, right? It's good to have stuff to show off. All right, let's find out what's happening here. I see what's happening here. See this? This dark edge melts up and through. Take this one, same deal. There we got our painterly crow's feet. All right. I want to keep what I had there, the dark. Now, nice, nice. There's a highlight that kind of sprinkles across here. And then this highlight kind of sprinkles up here. Oh boy. We're at the 3-hour mark, but I think we're going to keep going a little bit. And I'll tell you why, or maybe I won't tell you why, I'll show you why. Because there's things that I still wanted to accomplish. All right, and now I'll make my daily or whatever, weekly, monthly, hourly pitch for anyone who's interested in watching more of these kinds of painting videos and collaborating even. If there's something you wanted to learn particularly or talk about. First step would be just give a follow on whatever platform you're watching, and then you can come back and see what we get up to the next time. So usually I'm here in the mornings, hopefully 9. Sometimes takes me a while to get set up, but would be great. It would be great to have your chat and your feedback. So follow so you can see the next one. And then I can see what you get up to. If you have your own content or artwork somewhere online, had some fun checking out the different followers on Twitch have some cool artwork out there that I've been enjoying. Faye Helmet has some good stuff. And anyway, I'm in the zone now. It's never good to check out. It's never good to stop painting when you're in the zone, right? All right, blurring and blending. Blurring and blending. Can we find a... You do physical painting on stream as well. So yes, I haven't, but I certainly would like to. I think what I'm very methodical in some ways, to the point of laziness, not jumping in and diving to the next project. And here's why. Basically, I'm a little worried. Like, in a nutshell, I'm learning how to do this streaming thing and getting my chops up at just the idea of streaming at all. I started with Nintendo games because then I could, like, I don't know, for some reason it was just like, that's the platform. Like, people expect you to play games on this Twitch thing. And so then that just helped me get the technology going and understand how to stream at all. And now I'm thinking, all right, the next step is going to be stream live traditional oil paint, or drawing. You know, I maybe I'll start with a drawing. So I can still do it at my desk, you know? That's the dream. You don't want to have to leave your house. That's just me. I enjoy your streams. I find it inspiring. Norsewerg, thank you for that. I'm pleased that you do, and I'd love to see any inspiration that comes of it. Just please share it. You know, let us see what you're getting up to with your digital or traditional paint media. I'm really into plein air painting, plein air recently, but then I have to go out in the cold, rainy Norwegian weather. Hey, you know who? Well, I think you should look at this guy who used to study at the painting school I went to. You dig it, because if you like this idea of painting one-to-one, this is called the site size. It's based off of the site size method, I would say. Like, that's what I'm grounded in the site size method pretty firmly. And the site size method is kind of a culty. No, I don't want to call it a cult. It's not a cult. It's a technique through which it's easier to learn proportions. some people see it as a crutch. I don't want to get into what site size is right now, but if you're basically it's this idea of painting one-to-one. What you see on the painting is what you see in your reference or subject. And this can be applied to sites. It can be applied to plein air painting. So I've done some plein air stuff using site size. And the person who taught me how to use site size in the context of plein air painting is this really brilliant painter, Marc D'Alessio, M-A-R-C, D'Alessio, D-A-L-E-S-S-I-O, I believe. So Google that guy. He's probably got tons of online resources. He's been blogging about painting since before blogs were even a thing. But definitely check it out. Yeah, he does some serious plein air work that's talk about inspiring. I mean, it's just like, whoa. I've actually stood by and watched him paint a landscape in Central Park once, and it was awesome. But also, you can also research the site size method if you are curious more about what it is that I'm selling here. I'm going to run a little bit over here because there's no reason not to finish what we started. Blurring, blending. Don't do that. That's too light of a highlight. I really sort of trashed that work that I had going there. Want more of this 5 o'clock shadow coming in. Yikes. And then if and when I do get into the studio, it's going to be, I'm going to try and set it up so that you can kind of see better how site size works from life. Like, most likely what I'll do is a cast drawing, and a cast drawing is how I learned how to see and how to paint, by drawing a plaster statue that is placed in a single light source. And you get these nice shadow patterns, and then once you learn how to draw and paint that, you're pretty much on your way to being able to paint and draw the human form, certainly. And then you can apply what you learn with that to painting outdoors. And if the goal is sort of to make it look like what you're painting, site size is a really good way to do it. In fact, I don't know, I forget where, you could even look up my buddy who I mentioned, who was in the Norwegian, maybe he has like a community of people who are doing painting in this way. But it's like, it's a lifestyle. Like I learned this when I was 18 or 19, probably to in a way, it was probably too young because I just never really went. This method is something that once you learn it, you kind of can't unlearn it. Maybe you can. I just never tried. I just didn't want to. I've been very like loyal to this technique, maybe at the expense of my growth as an artist. But I don't mind. I'm happy to be stunted, if that's what I am. Yikes. All right, you're seeing we're starting to like come into play. Things are starting to come into focus. We need to finish the lower lip. And actually, thank you for the inspiration, because at some point I'm going to I'm definitely going to, sorry, I'm a little hanging on to two ideas at once. Let me just finish this thought here. I want to what am I going to do? Gosh. Oh, the layers stuff. Really curious about how I can use layers and sort of open up the tools of Photoshop to my advantage. All right, here Rogers has this bit of a gap tooth. Not that much, but that's okay. We'll fix it in post. Let's get his upper lip here. I mean lower lip. We got some thumping going on upstairs now. The kids are awake. The sleeper has awakened. Okay. What did I do wrong here? I think I did something wrong here. There's always a wrong thing to do. No, it's not too bad. Here. This highlight up on the tip of the tooth. Something like that. Not the right time to do this when you're trying to like sign off. But here we go. Here we go on the roller coaster. Smaller tooth. There's a highlight here. See, we don't want them to look too gap toothish. We need to give him his proper dental health. Periodontal health, what is it? Okay. And there's some highlights in here that I don't have, but never you mind. We'll get to them. And we'll get to this one. Whoops. That was a huge highlight that I didn't need to. I crushed that highlight with a... Let's not do that. Let's just layer it in there. Something like that. Nah, that's not it. That's probably more like it. And the final, not the final, but one of the final items for business. One of the final items up for grabs. All right, look what I did there. I made a mistake. The back tooth there lives more, I think, like that. And I think this will explain why. Yeah. Now, this is all fine, but not bad. Get our eyes adjusted and hit some highlights that live across here like this. There's the Fred Rogers we know and love. Take in a bit of darker values here. Feed that across. Okay. Am I ready to throw in the towel? No, not for today. We've got stuff we gotta do here. Paint some happy expressions. No, don't go too far. Yeah, that's not quite right. We gotta deal with that another time. But that's hard. That's a hard passage right there. But I shall not be afraid. We gotta just go for it, right? Pull this edge down and under and keep waiting, looking. Here's one. We don't have that yet. Something like that. Edgy, edgy. Keep it edgy, right? That's looking a little too paint by numbers, to be honest, but I'm okay with it because I know that I can be proud of my work. I'm fine with it. Believe me, I promise it's not paint by numbers. Yes, it is. It's all paint by numbers. So wait a second. What happened there? Why is there's like a hair on his neck in the photo? We're going to just blast in these lights. And there is another highlight over here. Here. And then there's another one that lives over here. It just goes on and on. It never ends. Something like that. We're closing in here. We want this to be like sort of a better blurred. Ay, no. I knew it. How bad? Shoot. And then this doesn't need to be so dark, but I don't know how light it should be. There, we're getting our lights coming through there. Better. Why is this Here, I want to find out what number this is. Hello? Nope. I knew it. I knew it. When they say it's potential spam, believe them. It's not just potential spam. What else would it be? All right. So, zooming out, we can start to see Rogers taking shape. And we don't want to abandon ship quite yet. There's stuff going on here that we need to allow, like right in here, like, come on, we got to address this stuff. There's a nice light edge, whatever you want to call that. There's a nice edge that comes wrapping up in here. There was a highlight in here. I don't know where it went, but there's going to be another one. Let's slash this highlight in here because it's definitely there. Boom. Something like that. Oh yeah, that's a nice highlight, right? I mean, not my painting so much as just the, and see, where's this one? Well, I thought I was going to be done a while ago, but we're not. And I'm glad I'm not, but we're going to keep it going. So it's at 1:30. I have about an hour until my next commitment. And why not just take the day, to paint? Like, that's what I studied for, right? Oh boy. Nope, not that. That was our dreaded. I pressed the O button, and the O button does scary stuff. It darkens everything. Dark, that we don't want it to be dark all of a sudden. Whoops, I don't know what I just did there. I don't think I wanted to do that. I'm going to try and phase that out, and then look, here's definitely why did I have this here? Because I wanted to plop it in later, like this. No, not quite like that. That was clumsy. Clumsy town. Won't you take me to clumsy town? So there's a good example where you can sort of find the value that you want and then place it in, try to place it in anyway, in the same direction as the form that you're trying to describe. So Norseberg, thank you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good rest of your day, or have a good night. See you next time. And great. Have a good one. Enjoy it. I'm going to take our last bit of remaining time and just kind of scan around for places where we know we've gone wrong. We're definitely going to need to revisit a lot of areas, and that's good. That's what we want. But I don't think we want to leave too much of a patchy patchwork here. But we don't want to be too hard on ourselves. Like, we've made some good progress. Let's not muck it up, right? Put in this ear. Grab a shadow. Whoops. Put these highlights in. Fred Rogers. Okay, just blast in a little light there. Whoops. Here's a nice little value to plop in. Same with that side. And then I don't know where or why this seems to be haunting me somewhat. Something like that. And like that. Din, 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 din. Okay. Oh, here's a little point of no return. Let's put this brushwork down across there. Find out why this is shaped such as such. And then we can put in a highlight. Come on, we weren't even looking at those highlights. And why is this like that? I don't know, but we're going to have to fix that for sure. Something. We're almost done patching together these areas, and in fact, I think what I'm going to do is try an experiment. I'm too hungry for views on my platforms, and by that, I'm hungry for views. I'll show you what I mean. Oh, whoa. Weird. All right, well, you know how that works. Sorry, you didn't see that, but the screen recording just stopped, and that's fine. That's actually good timing. I'm going to do a Fred Rogers V1 save into my documents. I'm going to show you. You might like this, actually. I don't know. Now let's take this over here. We do our documents. Where's our desktop? Screen recording. Okay. So take a look. This is how it starts. Right? Kind of cool. There's our full time lapse. Anyway. Day one done. So, a lot going on. Anyway, see you next time. And many thanks. I'm going to dump this screen recording and get rid of our stream for now, but talk to you soon. All right, thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.